See, because this commentary of Dark Souls 2 is possibly one of my favorite videos on YouTube. I love this.
Dark Souls 2 released recently, and being a big fan of the series, I couldn't help but jump in.
I don't know where the thing is that I'm trying to find you, but it's when he explains the souls.
Realised because they felt internally consistent. You have to suspend your disbelief about magic and all that, but once you do, the world behaves in sensical ways. I'd credit this as part of the reason why...
Yeah, I think that's what we're talking about a second ago, is suspension of disbelief. Like, you can... there was a really good line about suspension of disbelief that I can't remember off the top of my head. But essentially, you can create an illogical, fanciful premise at the beginning of your story. Okay, yeah. I forget the name of it. Okay, here. This would be a good example of what we're trying to say, right? Is how your story should work. This is a film called Upside Down, and the premise is there are two worlds. Not a great movie, but it's fine. There are two worlds that are directly opposite each other, and these two mountain peaks reach. Anybody seen this movie? It's an interesting premise. Is there are two planets directly on top of each other. To the point where you see she's upside down and he's here. And this is obviously completely fucking ludicrous, right? Imagine two planets.
I come from the only known solar system with two...
It makes zero sense. It would obviously not work, whatever. But that's the beginning. You set your premise up in the beginning. But once you've done that, and they have a tower that connects the two planets together. But once you've done that, this world needs to make sense. And you shouldn't change the rules later, right? And they do this in this movie. They actually do it fine. Like, the premise is totally ridiculous, but okay, we can accept that. We can suspend our disbelief. There's two planets that are so close to each other, we literally have towers that run between them. As long as the rest of the movie makes sense, we could roll with that. Like, they literally work on the ceiling and stuff. And they do that in this film. They actually do that. But you can't do that later on.
Souls became a cult hit in the first place. It does an amazing job of pulling you into its world. When I played the Souls games, I walked around cautiously, taking in my surroundings. Yeah. And when presented with a situation where I had to make a choice, I would usually try to make the one that would realistically pay off. This wasn't solely because of the punishing difficulty of those games. It was because the world made sense, felt fair, and was totally engrossing. Dark Souls 2 simply doesn't have the same attention to detail as the previous games in this regard. The world doesn't fit together either logically or thematically.
Yeah, this pissed
In
me off
Harvest Valley, you can get a clear view of Earthen Peak and see the surrounding area. After beating the Earthen Peak boss, you then get in an elevator and go straight up about 15 more floors, arriving at Iron Keep. There's no hint of Iron Keep whatsoever from the outside of Earthen Peak. From Harvest Valley, the sky is overcast, but in Iron Keep it has a red glow, and the surrounding area is suddenly an enormous wasteland.
And this is an example of like, but it'd be cool if you came out of the elevator and you're in a volcano, right? This is the example again, like of like, but it would be cool though. You go into this building and then you ride a giant elevator, but when you come out top, it's like, it's not that. I mean, that's what it feels like to me. It's like it'd be fucking cool.
Similar transitions exist elsewhere. Going from the Tower of Flame down to No Man's Wharf makes no sense, as this places the wharf somewhere below sea level. Going to the boss in Aldia's Keep reveals the landscape to be far below, but in reality the player should be more or less at the same altitude as Majula here, since they've only walked up a few stairs. Even worse then, transitioning to the Dragon Eyrie reveals an obviously impossible set of outcrops in the sky which weren't visible just moments before.
See, that's where I disagree with you, Armst, is the Dragon Peak is so...
Tower of Flame down to No Man's Wharf makes no sense, as this places the wharf somewhere below sea level.
I get that they were crunching and trying to slap the games together.
Going to the boss in Aldia's Keep reveals the landscape to be far below.
But this feels to me like they just thought it'd be sick if we were in like a floating
altitude
area.
As Majula here, since they've only walked up a few stairs. Even worse then, transitioning to the Dragon Eyrie.
Right? I think this is somebody thinking this would be sick. It'd just be really cool if we came out into an area like this. I think this was planned.
Eyrie reveals an obviously impossible set of outcrops in the sky which weren't visible just moments before. There's a host of smaller issues as well, such as the Tower of Flame as seen from Majula, which is way out of position. As a result, the feel of Dark Souls 2 suffers heavily compared to the other games, which felt much more...
Because Dark Souls 1's geography is perfect. Am I right on that? I think I am. There's like a really good graph or a good image that Dark Souls 1's geography is actually perfect. I remember seeing like a tower down. It's close. Yeah, it's like really close. That it makes a lot of sense. Yeah, not 100%, but I mean like within reason. This one. Gaze by the Dark Souls in one single image. Yeah, because you have Lord and stuff at the top. If I had to put out that wall, yeah, because it fits together when you realize how you move. Isolith paid
more consistent in their geography.
Even
worse than any of this is the Shrine of Winter, which makes sense physically but not logically. The player is expected to kill the 4 old ones or amass 1 million souls before this will.
This line is so good. It's so good. I need to go back just a sec to set this up. It's so good.
Even worse than any of this is the Shrine of Winter, which makes sense physically but not logically. The player is expected to kill the 4 old ones or amass 1 million souls before this will open, and all it does is circumvent a pile of rubble. A small pile of rubble blocks the way in the forest, so rather than climb over it, the character kills 4 of the most powerful beings in existence. I understand why they wanted Drangley Castle gated off until later, but this ridiculously poor level design shattered my suspension of disbelief so hard it never recovered. It might have died in Aldia's Keep anyway, where a bunch of creatures sit around in cages they're easily capable of demolishing. There were plenty of other weird, grating decisions made in other areas too, like bonfires which spawn you in range of enemies, especially problematic since the character starts out vulnerable when they're teleported back after dying. If you die to the Lost Sinner, then decide to take a break when the loading screen comes up, you'll be killed by the archers at the bonfire over and over again, losing all your souls in the process. Just across the bridge from there, they also made the genius decision to place an important vendor in a room with 5 exploding enemies. There's also the bonfire at Iron Keep, which forces your character to go through Belfry Sol.
I hate this one.
Because there's a small...
This is the most stupid bonfire in the fucking world. I actually can't stand this. It makes you loop around the whole fucking level to use this bonfire. And there's even a ladder next to it that you could step off. Like, this is so badly designed. It's insane that they did this. I can't believe a level designer looked at this and thought, this is good. Because we need the player to loop back around. But it's even the fact that it's like a head height ledge. There's a ladder next to it as well. It's so, like, this game is fun to play. I love Dark Souls 2. I absolutely love playing this game, but it would be wrong to say it's not full of such stupid
wall
nonsense.
In the way. It's obvious that the level designers didn't have the same priorities when working on Dark Souls 2. I'd imagine the decision to allow warping right from the start of the game was made very early on in development, since every level is essentially a long tunnel leading to a dead end. I've seen some people compare this to the level design in Demon's Souls, but honestly that is an insulting statement to make about that game. Even in Demon's Souls, the levels were often designed to loop back around on themselves to provide shortcuts. They were usually
most
presented
amazing
in a very
thing I realized in Dark Souls. Did anybody remember your first Souls game? And you came across a shortcut and realized that you'd looped all the way back around to where you were, and you now could go back to like the main town and stuff. That is like in Dark Souls 1, when you go through the church and you fight for ages, then you unlock the first elevator that takes you back to an area. You're like, oh my god, like that is so good.
Way which matched up with the style of the world. In Boletaria, you unlock gates. In Stonefang, you activate a lift. In Latria, you open up locked doors. The level design in Dark Souls 2 is not only lazy because it provides an incoherent world compared to Dark Souls 1, but also because it has less interesting layouts than the levels in either of the previous games.
Yeah, what was this room? I'm assuming I'm talking to people who've played this, or at least watched the Souls games. This room is so weird. There's these 3 big giants just stood in a room.
Many of the areas look interesting and large from the outside, only to be totally underwhelming when you actually go through them. The Tower of Flame is a small path with one short divergence leading to an optional boss. Aldia's Keep has a nice entryway, then turns into a single long corridor with a few small side rooms. Drangley Castle is a series of narrow, nonsensical hallways. Contrast that with the Castle of Anor Londo, which was by no means perfect, but actually had some rooms to explore like a castle should. The only shortcut I can even remember from Dark Souls 2 is kicking over a tree in Huntsman's Copse, which turns out to be totally unnecessary anyway since there's a bonfire placed right next to it. Even given the opportunity for a good, well-placed shortcut, the designers neglected to place one. same bonfire in Huntsman's Copse is directly below the bridge which leads to the area boss. There could have easily been a ladder placed here to kick down in order to provide a shortcut, but apparently they would rather have you run all the way back around instead. Just think about how baffling this all is. Huntsman's Copse starts with a bonfire, then opens a shortcut directly to another bonfire, then neglects to open a shortcut to the boss area. Instead, there should have been only one bonfire at the start, and a shortcut placed at the bridge. It's so close to being designed the same way as the previous games, but just isn't for some reason. It's not just the level-by-level design which suffers in Dark Souls 2 compared to other installments, it's the accessibility of different areas and the placement of many items too. This is another reason why comparisons between the design of Demon Souls and Dark Souls 2 are insulting to the former. In Demon Souls, once the player finished the first stage of Boletaria, they then had 5 levels immediately available for them at any point. Each level had different pros and cons.
Yikes.
There were incentives to go to any of them,
we need to play Demon Souls on the PS5,
but even then
we?
the player isn't blocked from exploring the swamp if they wish. Item placement in Demon Souls was carefully balanced to give each world a reasonably fair share of useful items which players would eventually be aware of for subsequent playthroughs. Dark Souls 1 attempted to carry on this legacy, but did a somewhat worse job. There were several areas available right from the start, but not as much incentive to go to them. That said, the placement of items was still pretty well considered, and some players might opt to go straight through the Catacombs or Blighttown at the start to acquire certain items.
I'm not doing that.
In Dark Souls 2, Majula only opens into 2 locations at the beginning.
Oh god,
but the sad thing is it actually connects to 5. The Grave of Saints, Huntsman's Copse and Shaded Woods are all sealed off until the player completes at least some of the other areas, or gathers up around 12,000 souls to buy the Cat Ring. There's no good reason why this should be the case, other than trying to ensure inexperienced players end up starting on the right path. That might seem like a harmless compromise to make, but the Souls games are supposed to be a refuge from the crippling accessibility concessions many other modern games make.
I think they've learned their lesson, right? With the Elden Ring fucking horseback man being the first guy you see when you come out of the building. They learned their lesson. Hi!
Dark Souls 1 allowed you to wander into New London.
Oh god, trying to figure out you needed the curse to kill these enemies. Oh, put a bullet in my brain, man. I could not figure this out for ages.
Or the Catacombs at the start, and trusted you would have the intelligence to go somewhere else instead.
I didn't at first. The first enemies I ran into in Dark Souls 1 were in the graveyard leading to the Catacombs, and I had no fuck. I just thought, because everybody had told me how goddamn hard the Souls games are, and you're going to die all the time, and the first enemies kicked my fucking ass. And I was like, oh god, this game is just like stupidly unfair, dude. These guys just one-shot me, and I'm not a bad gamer. I can avoid a lot of this shit. And they're still one-shotting me. The little did I know that you can go up to the town behind that. I was like,
Dark Souls 2 doesn't seem to have as much trust in the player. None of the 3 blocked off areas are even that difficult. I'd say getting through the Catacombs in Dark Souls 1 is more difficult than any of them, so it's frustrating that these areas, and the items they contain, are locked away until later for no good reason. This has an adverse effect on multiple playthroughs of the game since they all start out the same way. The layout of Demon Souls, and to a lesser extent Dark Souls 1, allowed you to start a new game and quickly build whatever character you liked. Instead of carrying on this tradition, Dark Souls 2 railroads the player at the beginning and only opens up more later on. There's a serious lack of useful equipment in the first.
I always say with the Souls games, if you can, once you start getting a boss down or two, you're in. And I think you're sold on the whole franchise at that point. I think once you get past like Tourist Demon or whatever, you're in. You've sold. Once you started to figure it out and you're starting to get a feel for how the game works, and then you can grow a pair and play some Bloodborne like a fucking man.
Half of the game, which becomes doubly problematic since players are going to
quit Sense Fortress. That's fair. Sense Fortress. And then you watch some speedrun dipshit fucking run through Sense Fortress in about 30 seconds flat, and you just look at it and you go, yeah, whatever.
On weapons they're not very attached to, simply because they don't have any other options. The Ember needed to ascend weapons is tucked all the way away in Iron Keep, which means at the very least going to the Tower of Flame, Huntsman's Copse, Harvest Valley, and Earthen Peak just to snag the Ember. Never mind the other materials you might want for your weapon. The majority of Twinkling Titanite needed for special upgrades.
Whereas FromSoft's knob polishers, backseating, calling it. That is the... honestly, I think the Souls hardcore guys are some of the worst Twitch viewers. They're worse than Final Fantasy VII Twitch viewers. They're really bad. They live and breathe the game like some fucking crazy elitists. It's so weird. Like, it's really creepy. Yeah, I've seen. I don't know how some of those people put up with them. I know, like, Dist has a weird thing with his chat where he can only see subscriber comments and he can't see anybody else talking to him. Like, he's modified his chat so he can only see subs. Because the questions and shit that come in there are just so fucking stupid. It just blows my mind. It really does. Can you give some examples? They're just very, very big. I think there's a couple of things that have happened. Like, this, because Souls has built this legacy of being like the ultra hardest game to beat, and if you beat it, you're a pro. That kind of nonsense, which is not remotely true at all. There's a definite community that has built up who have beaten Souls, even by using cheese, and buy into the fact that they're now very elite gamers. And they wear that like a badge of pride. That's the attitude I get. I mean, obviously I'm judging it based on the like structure of their sentences and how they respond to people. But I see a lot of that where they're very, very anti-newcomers. They don't like people making elementary mistakes. They don't like people not understanding how you get extra iframes in Dark Souls 2. They think you're dog shit. Like, at some point, wasn't Dark Souls on Judge Judy? Like, it's hard to explain. Oh, here we go. Oh, it's Big Judge Rinder.
Michael is in court to claim £100, which he says is owed to him after his friend lost a bet. Defendant Thomas says he was intoxicated and doesn't remember making the bet. Therefore, he owes nothing.
It's a very serious bet.
Is it Michael?
Yes, it is, Your Honour.
That's a relief. I thought I had a young Alan Yentob for a minute.
Fucking Rinder with the plays.
Thomas, yes. And the two of your friends, correct?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Now, Michael, who are you with today?
I'm here with my brother David.
Hello, David. How are you?
Wonderful, thank you, Judge.
Do stand up. Thank you for coming. I'm going to seek your assistance. Do step forward.
Not a parody,
in order,
no.
Not just to present the Open University on BBC Two late at night, but also to assist me in due course with some of the substance of this case.
Let's listen.
A mild degree of expertise. Understood?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. This is a case which, although not worth very much, is fundamentally a case of principle. Isn't that right, Thomas?
Yes.
That's certainly true as far as you're concerned, Michael. Mm-hmm. Now, what's that a picture of, please, Michael?
That is a picture of the three of us playing each other competitively at the game Mario Kart, a kart racing game.
Right, OK. And how long would you be sat playing that?
An embarrassing amount of time.
Point of it is that at some point you were outside, which is an unusual moment for all of you. In fact, you visited the Glastonbury Festival, true?
That is correct.
You were having a marvellous time. Were you listening to the music, or please don't tell me you took one of these games consoles along with you to the Glastonbury Festival?
I wish.
There's
You
no
did.
way.
I wish.
I don't think.
Well, that's good. So you were in
I
the tent
wish.
together and having fun. And at some point, there was discussion about a particular game. What was the game, please, Michael?
The game was Dark Souls.
Now, you know about this game, do you?
Of it, yes.
Of it. What's special about this particular game?
It's incredibly difficult.
Well, what do you mean by it being difficult?
It takes a lot of dedication and learning and commitment of time.
What exactly, as far as you are aware, is involved in it, David? Do you know about it?
Yes, because I had been playing the game. I'd been playing through the game.
And had you finished it?
No.
No, you're having this discussion. You were aware it was very difficult. So as I understand it, Michael, you made a suggestion to Thomas, did you not?
I believe that David was talking about how difficult the game was. Thomas was fairly merry at this point in the festival.
Well, fairly merry is a euphemism for what?
Drunk?
Drunk. How many had you had to drink, would you say?
I've absolutely no idea.
That's probably
Yeah.
the right answer.
I don't know.
Certainly enough that he was inebriated, yes? Had you been drinking too?
I believe so, yes.
And there was a discussion. And what was the nature of the discussion, Michael?
Here it comes.
Thomas said, I could do that. That's very easy. I'll be able to do it on the hardest difficulty setting. Trash talking, basically.
I'd shit Dark Souls. I'd shit it. I'd shit it. Easy game, easy life. Yeah, Giga Chat Thomas. I'd shit it. I'd even turn it up to hard. He would. He'd turn it up to hard. Easy game.
Doing what?
Trash talking.
Like being cocky?
I can do it.
Oh, I see.
Easy.
Being cocky. Point of it is, as far as you're concerned, he was trash talking. There you are at the Glastonbury Festival, correct? Having a marvellously splendid time.
Crank that bitch up.
Yeah.
Got to put suntan lotion on.
Who did?
Tom.
Well, it usually rains there. That's perfectly reasonable. Why? Oh, is he burnt?
Yeah,
there?
he's bright red.
Well, I was going to say it's more of a sort of orange hue. It looks like a sort of, I don't know, a sort of in-betweeners tribute act. I used to do international law, you know. So there you are. You say to Thomas, you can't finish this because it's terribly difficult, and you say, OK, let's have a wager, right? What was the basis of the wager?
The basis of the wager was that if he was able to do it within a year,
1
the next
year.
Glastonbury Festival, he would have to pay £100 for me and my brother to go on a bar crawl around all the various establishments at Glastonbury, and he'd have to watch
1
us. We
year
had a
to
great
beat Dark
time,
Souls.
and he sat
1
there
year.
mid-
This, ladies and gentlemen, is going to upset you because what you're about to see, what you're witnessing on your screen, are the poison of our little world. The poison of our little corner of the internet. You know what they are? Fucking casuals. Here they are. These are casual gamers who have no idea what the fuck's going on. They have no idea what min-max means. They're casual fucking scum. These are the people who play FIFA. There they are, buying all the packs. Normies.
Marvellous.
Casual.
Now, ordinarily,
Makes
you
sick.
would know that that wouldn't be enforceable, but you would...
And the end of the story is he did not beat Dark Souls in a year.
10 good months. Hope to see some variety
He did
soon.
not beat Dark
Have a good
Souls
one.
in a year. He didn't make it, the poor lad. He didn't make it. He didn't beat it. Fucking spoiler. Did he pay? I'm not sure if he paid, actually.
attempted to do something, as I understand it. You drafted...
Oh, only,
some
okay,
kind of
it's only up to
agreement,
here.
am I right?
Okay.
Yes.
Oh, God, they're back.
Have you ever seen this document?
Yes.
They did a document.
I will finish the game
I will finish Dark
before
Souls.
the next Glastonbury, or I will pay David £100. And it's got your name, 2014 Glastonbury, and it says you have 101 days left. Referring to you, correct?
Yes.
When this document was prepared, did you sign it?
No.
Were you drunk when it was prepared?
I didn't even say that.
Well, what exactly did you say?
Well, I certainly didn't say that.
Well, what did you say?
Michael or David, when they were discussing about this game, they said, oh, I bet you can't finish this game. Now, me being quite intoxicated, a bit of misplaced arrogance, said, yes, I can. And then they mentioned that bet and thought, OK, I'll shake on that. But then I totally forgot about it. Even David, who I shook the deal with, he forgot about it.
Who reminded you of it?
The ambulance chaser, Michael.
The what?
The ambulance chaser.
What?
What do you mean he's an ambulance? Is he a lawyer?
Because the bet is between me and David. Michael intruded. He had nothing
He's
to do
an
with this.
Is
intruder.
that right? What's the initial agreement between you and him?
He's an ambulance
Confirm that, yes.
chaser.
Right, OK. So why are you getting involved with this, Michael?
Because I believe that the bet was for both of us. He said he would pay because David.
So you were
wouldn't
going to be a
able have
beneficiary?
He wouldn't be able to have £100
Who
worth
drafted this, you or David?
I put together that document.
Right.
The
Not the person
document?
with whom the initial deal was made.
They forgot the bet had even happened.
The two people who made the bet forgot about the bet until fucking dipshit shows up wanting his fucking pound of flesh and makes a document. What a dick. Fuck off, man.
Just wait a moment, I'm about to turn around and say something to you.
Yeah, what a good friend.
You're still here?
Let's see if he paid it.
not here, who's posted a picture, the one that's over there, saying he should start in the inverted commas, the deprived class. Let me tell you, I look at that gentleman in the middle, and there's no part of me that, when grappling for an adjective, thinks, goodness, doesn't that gentleman look deprived?
Within the universe of the game, though, you need lots of armour to withstand the threats that you face. Who would get hit and die immediately with just a loincloth?
With just a loincloth? Excuse me.
Casuals, guys. The casuals, okay? None of them have ever beat Dark Souls. This is what I'm talking about. It's the mystique that this is why we're here. This is the mystique around Dark Souls. This is what the casuals believe.
So he's deprived?
Yes, of armour.
What happens when you get all of your armour? What do you become then?
You become someone who can withstand the threats that the game throws up.
At least play it before opening your fucking mouth, man.
You didn't follow through with the bet, correct?
No.
Why not?
One university came around, like dissertation work around about that time.
What were you studying?
International politics.
And you had to complete it, and so you didn't have time, right? Did you finish your degree?
Yes.
How did you get on?
2-1.
So you had to work quite hard to get that, correct?
Yes.
Not bad.
I see, he didn't download it. You say you can enforce this, correct?
Mm-hmm. Well, a degree is easier than Dark Souls.
Cringe! Ah! Cringe! God, you fucking cringe!
Still playing games with each other?
Yes.
What a thrill. How old are you now, Michael?
26.
Still playing games with a card?
Very still.
What does your girlfriend think of that?
I don't have a girlfriend.
Oh, Lord. Michael. David and Thomas. Michael, actually you tried to do something vaguely sensible, which was to formalise a bet which was made between your brother and Thomas. The problem was, at the time the agreement was made, it's quite clear to me Thomas was drunk, and that agreement...
I want to know if he pays!
So
Who's
this
I can't
document
remember.
here is retrospective and wouldn't apply. It's not enforceable. In any event, even if I did construe there was some kind of legal agreement between you, the problem you would have is that nearly all bets between people are not legally enforceable. They're not enforceable because people don't anticipate that in the event the other party doesn't pay, you can bring that matter to court. Otherwise, this court and other courts would be filled with completely moronic people. And for that reason alone, your case is entirely, without any difficulty whatsoever, dismissed. That's the award of this
That's
court.
it! You don't have to pay!
Michael's case was...
It's free! It's free! He's free, he's out! That's it, you died! You died!
Is only available once the player gets to Drangley Castle.
But that's what I'm saying, like, the casual idea of Dark Souls is that it's like some impossible getting over it, Bennett Foddy jerk-off motherfucker. And it's not. If you just get good, man. If you get good, you win. All of them are casuals. The cart gamers, it hurt my soul. That's what I'm saying. But the people who've managed to get past it and overcome it, there's this definite subset of gamers who've overcome that obstacle and are very entrenched in that they're god gamers and whatever. I see it all the time in those ones. It's, yeah. Casuals say getting over it is hard. There you go. Just secretly does 0 hit runs every other weekend. I think, am I wrong? Judge Rinder, I don't watch Judge Rinder. I saw that because of the Dark Souls thing a while ago. But I think that guy's like a doctor, a lawyer. Like, he's ridiculously intelligent and took that show because it pays more money than actually practicing law. Because that's all about the internet. No, still absolute casual noobs. Yeah, like absolute mega casuals. He's a barrister. Yeah, he's done like some crazy shit. He's a super accomplished dude, and he's got charisma. So he got himself a daytime TV show. It was 69 years ago that I was hit, for sure. I wish you needed a license to play games. We played Jump King. We played it during the summertime. It's bad. It's
At which point they're most of the way through the game.
It's a game designed to frustrate you. That's not
the
fun.
overabundance of bonfires is another issue with the overall level.
Well, recommend. That was a sidetrack. But yeah, MatthewMatosis. I fully recommend. I 100% recommend. I haven't watched Last of Us 2 because I haven't played it. But there's some weird stuff on here. But the God of War case study. I bet that's cool. I haven't watched Breath of the Wild either. But the yeah, I'll link it here now. I fully recommend the Metal Gear Solid playlist. It's great. And the Super Mario one and the Legend of Zelda one. Really good. Like particularly after I played 4, I went and